Tonight it's time for another death metal release entitled Domain of Our Deceitful Beliefs, signed by CodeRed from the city of Brașov. Very classical death metal release in Romania with the famous guitarist and vocalist Andrei Calmuc, who unfortunately is no longer among us nowadays. This was released, I think, in 2013 in a digital format, and 5 years later it was released on a CD by Loud Rage Music. And now we are in 2003, so again 5 years later we are doing the video review. So in the case of this band, everybody was a little bit late to the party, so to say, but regardless, tonight we will do what needs to be done in this case. That is, in the case of these four very talented musicians, kind of a, as I said, kind of a classic death metal release in Romania, both from a technical and from a modern point of view, because the classical canon in this case is a little bit tricky, because actually what these guys are delivering in here, it's kind of a modern approach despite its initial classical appearance. So yeah, a couple of tracks: Symptoms of General Decay, Way of Nibiru, Crowd Control, Neutron Collision, The Sixth Sun, Burning Rat, and of course a bonus track entitled I Am the One, a bonus track initially belonging to the famous old school death metal band Putrefaction from Bacău. This is a cover track, or a cover version track, Putrefaction being the initial band of Andrei Calmuc, who later on formed Indian Fall, moved from Bacău to Brașov, formed the Indian Fall, and afterwards, with some members from Indian Fall, such as Adrian Vitanescu at the time, decided to go into death metal as well, and he went into death metal with CodeRed and also with Spectral and Tenebre, and there were other extreme death metal projects as coming from Andrei Calmuc. As you can see, quite a science fiction looking like cover for this release, expressionist with a little bit of an existential touch, a lot of philosophical and even psychological touches, the way Andrei Calmuc used to do them back in the days. Extremely talented death metal musician in Romania, if not the most talented death metal musician that ever played on Romanian soil. What can be said about CodeRed is that CodeRed brings forth both classic, as I said, and somehow modern death metal drive or death metal instinct. Modern in the sense of that white noise notion from the area of signal processing, in the sense that just like in the case of white noise, the CD kind of maintains an equal intensity, a constant power, and a form of spectral density at different frequencies, or regardless of the rhythm or of the tempo used in here, the same intensity, the same constant power, and the same spectral density and determination are to be found on each of the tracks. So this is something that basically remains constant all along the songs. And by the way, this parallel that I did with white noise is a positive aspect that I tried to highlight. A positive aspect, and what I mean by this is that these musicians in here kind of know how to stick to their guns and how to maintain an attractive blend of impetuous riff-driven audacity and a lot of pronounced progressive-thrashy flair to their music. And the prominent riffing adds a lot to the somehow, as I said, science fiction atmosphere of the album, making it a natural grower of influence, because the riffing styles used in here have a very powerful and entertaining drive, or they are capable to instill into the listener a very powerful and entertaining drive. The riffs are strong enough to keep the aggressive standard at high levels, and most importantly, I would say this happens because the musicians know very well how to take full advantage of the guitar's overdrives. Yeah, they know how to use the guitar overdrive, and they know how to have those guitar overdrives give to the riffs a surround feeling, because this is exactly what happens in the case of this record. The guitar's overdrive invest into the riffs that kind of a surround feeling all along the tracks. And this is also a natural grower of influence because, and this is actually a very well-known fact, in this band, in CodeRed, all the members bring solid personal contributions to the compositional process, and not necessarily contributions on their own instrument. For instance, it is a very well-known fact that Andrei Calmuc, the vocalist and the guitarist, would often write the drum parts, as every other member would do. In here they would compose lines or segments for other instruments than their own instruments. So perhaps this is kind of the kind of thing that gives to the whole record a very entertaining, catchy and well articulated, influential allure to the whole songs. So it is not the type of band in which one, let's say, mastermind genius writes the entire music and the other musicians or the other members of the band just sing whatever is put in front of them. And the fact that in here everybody takes part and takes initiative in the compositional process gives the music, in my opinion, special kind of synesthesia at the level of sound, making this CD a very articulate production. So everything kind of comes in a extremely well articulated sound design and sound effect. So yeah, beautifully articulated sounds, beautifully articulated reverbs, and the kind of reverbs that send echoes into your bloodstream, determining the rhythm of your bloodstream, if you want to put it like this. And the fact that the musicians compose on other instruments than their own makes it so that the CD is full of all types of creative feels. And what ultimately happens is pretty much the following thing, like in a, how should I say, like in a Commando or Mortal Kombat style. By writing music in this way, the musicians gain in the process the necessary know-how so as to be able to attack mortally on the flanks each sonic segment. Yeah. Now some, let's say, historical facts that perhaps should be known about CodeRed is that they opened up for the famous band Sinister, and that the musicians in here, the former lineup and the present lineup, they are die-hard fans of Death, of Atheist, of Dayside, of Cynic, of Morbid Angel, of course, and the band was formed in 2004 at the initiative of Andrei Calmuc, playing the voice and the guitar, and the other members at the time were Marius Muntean at the bass, Adrian Vitanescu from Indian Fall doing the other guitar, and Gabi Barani doing the drums. Now, there were some lineup changes that occurred later on, and in the year 2010, if I'm not mistaken, some members left, and Armand Niculescu joined for the guitar section, Septimiu Hărșan joined on the drums, and in 2011 John Câmpian took over the bass lines. But the main and the most constant member in here, let's say the driving force of CodeRed, has been the vocalist and the guitarist Andrei Calmuc until his death in July 2022, when he fell on some stairs, hit his head against the concrete of the pavement, and didn't make it, and unfortunately left this world. Didn't make it, left this world, or if you want to put it otherwise, joined the great majority from beyond. Now, it is said that you know, every death is terrible, as Ashley Montague said, that the idea is to die young but as late as possible. So yeah, every death is terrible, but this one in particular was downright disastrous, because on that day in July 2022 died the best death metal musician that ever played in Romania. Personal opinion, of course, nothing more. So in this particular case of the death of Andrei Calmuc, we should revisit the lyrics of the song Native Monster, the lyrics which said that the earth may bleed a rupture information. Hugely, immensely creative and innovative guitar player, great producer of albums, if you want, and Andrei not only worked in the technical departments of the televisions from Brașov, but his audio mixing and production style would always achieve that kind of production that leaves a lot of room to the imagination on the side of the listener, since all the instruments in his mixing and production style are very, very well represented, and always with a particular emphasis or with a particular stress on the creativity of the electric guitars. And Andrei Calmuc was also a vocalist capable to deliver a heavy dosage of morbidity and malevolent fury with his unique vocal style. In 2010, I had an interview with Andrei Calmuc back into the days of the Stronger Than Lust EP. A small interview which remained unpublished to this day, or remained unpublished for so many years, pretty much because of an unfortunate situation. During a summer storm in the year of 2012, I left my recording devices and all the hard drives containing my audio and my written work on metal related topics. So I left all this equipment on the table next to the window, and there was a flash or a lightning stroke very close by, and the amount of electricity in there pretty much damaged all my electronic equipment. So not being able to start them back in the days, I just put them in the drawer and left there to rot for 9 or 10 years. But this year or later, late on last year, I don't remember exactly, I gave it a second shot, and out of a miracle that equipment started to work again. Actually, all of a sudden it started to work again, so I was able to retrieve a lot of lost data, among which I found this interview that I had with Andrei Calmuc in 2010. An interview that I thought to be forever lost. So here it is, that short, long lost interview. It was conducted via email, and I managed to get back the Word file. In case nobody else takes out something else from the drawer and publishes it, unfortunately, this may be the last published interview with Andrei Calmuc. So quite an interesting discussion, very special, as every conversation with him has always been. So let us enjoy this beautiful discussion together.
It is said that all those sick with the plague of the measurable will lock themselves in laboratories to perfect their instruments, just so as to be able to touch and feel what we dreamed of together. What do you think humanity is dreaming of together, either along the lines of nightmare or along the lines of hope? Would answer you this way. If humanity dreams together along the lines of nightmare, it means that they use the same drugs. And if they dream together along the line of hope, I think now we would be much further away for the better. Who is Little Sandman, and what made you invoke him in your music? Little Sandman is the one who should come to put us to sleep, but since he doesn't bother to show himself anymore, I think the evil generation turns to drugs in order to relax, to die gradually, not suddenly. What special feeling do you think the word monster has, both at the semantic and at the expansive, imaginative level, in contrast to, let's say, Satan, the devil, evil, etc.? I don't think it's necessarily a feeling when you say the word monster, but rather I avoid as much as possible references to religious topics, although it's practically impossible. But we try. What is a monster to you? The monster is what is bad in a person. It lies in every being. You just have to know how to bring it out, make him come out, or maybe even challenge him, provoke him. Why do you think monstrosity exists in human life and culture? I think that without it, human culture would have no essence. It would just be a boring beatitude, a bliss with nothing to compare it to, without settled limits that could give it a contour. And of course, beyond any but or maybe, it is a very subjective thing. What do you think it is the cause, but also the meaning of the double personality? I am asking the question perhaps with an inevitable Dostoevskian touch. The cause of the double personality seems to me something that I could not explain myself. Here we are treading on the field of psychiatry, in my opinion. It is certain that such a thing exists, and that in many of us lies a little actor, so to speak. Where do you think the line between playing evil and real evil is erased, and what exactly erases it? I would say that there are a number of factors that push you from thinking, premeditating evil to actually doing it. Social and psychological factors. As it has been shown, sometimes the desire to play in this direction goes further than it should. What motivates you to take up that metal, and what motivates you to continue and invest time, money, and energy in this music? I think that the native desire to make music and the entourage at that time led me to start playing death metal. The first band I played in was actually a death metal band. It's not about motivation anymore. Death metal is part of everyday life for me. What is in your opinion the main virtuosity of death metal, and what do you think it brings to the surface in the listener in a very special way? If we were to compare this quality of triggering moods and other things in the listener with a similar one present in other styles. Death metal is by definition a virtuoso musical genre. I think the message is very important next to the musical composition, and it can trigger special moods in a listener. But this is also valid for other music genres. My conclusion is that it is a subjective thing that belongs to each listener. Is there a special feeling associated to the Romanian death metal that makes it sound different from the death metal played in any other country, both in terms of sound and of message? If so, how would you describe this special ingredient? It doesn't seem to me that the Romanian bands brought anything original. It's hard to be original these days. A few years ago, you still recognized Romanian bands by the bad sound they had live or on CD. Today, things have changed. We have some death metal bands that sound at the level a band should sound at. But I come back and say there is nothing original for us to be able to distinguish a typical Romanian ingredient. The lyrics of CodeRed express a lot of nostalgia, an unusual feeling for the death metal area. What does this feeling mean to you? And what do you think is the meaning of its so acute presence in the dynamics of the psychic life? How compatible is nostalgia with death metal? Or how can it be made compatible with this music? Here you are talking about the first EP, Stronger Than Last. It was a niche material because then we put Indian Fall aside for a while after Eddie Nog left, and we wanted to do something else. The result was, I would say, a successful mix. I wouldn't say it was death metal per se, but a music with death metal influences. Now things have changed, and we play by far a very brutal death metal. Short-term strategies or long-term strategies. Please motivate the preference in the context of the Romanian music industry and the quality of the public in here, the quality of the feedback of this audience. I would say long-term strategies. Even in the context of the Romanian music industry, the feedback is satisfactory, maybe good, if calling it good wouldn't be too much. I try not to get involved in too many musical projects so that I can concentrate on a chosen one. What are your best memories from the 90s and how would you describe the feeling of those years? What about the 2000s? The most beautiful memories of the 90s connect me to my bands from that time, Putrefaction and Tenebre, to the Young Rock for Youngs Festival in Piatra Neamț, Rock Constellations in Râmnicu Vâlcea, Top de Buzău, Posada Rock, and to all my friends and bands from that time. The feeling changed in 2000 a little, but not a lot. At that time, I was performing with Indian Fall, and I have many beautiful memories with them too. The big prize at the top, the festival, and the first band with which I edited a CD. In 2001, it was an achievement for a Romanian band to edit a CD. How important is sport in your life? I mean, actually practicing it rather than watching it on TV or in the internet. I'm a bit sedentary lately, although I occasionally go skiing in the winter and in the summer to a basketball game or to a mountain. What is your recipe for the formation of an authentic character and an identity that you can be, if not proud of, at least satisfied with? I got stuck on this question. Pride has nothing to do with the equation. As you rightly said, self satisfaction belongs to everyone's spirit. I don't have a recipe for this. But if you ask me, I can tell you that Chuck Schuldiner had the recipe for this. And he may be more than satisfied up there from where he looks at us and watches over us. Why do you think that in our country, poetry, philosophy, and culture in general fell into derision and even came to be disregarded and despised? Of course, it's a long, interminable, and stereotypical discussion, but I would be interested if you could capture an unusual specificity of this degradation. The answer is simple. The educational system is bad. The system has failed.
So yeah, I was lucky to get this one back, but I believe it was the kind of luck invoked by Novak Djokovic when the famous Novak said something of the kind that I think that luck falls on not just the brave ones, but also on the ones who believe that they belong there. Luck falls on those who believe that they belong exactly where they are. So, you know, the more I spent time in the Romanian underground, the luckier I got. We can put it like this as well. So Andrei Calmuc was, I can say, a master of that grating on the nerves belligerence that gives you the right kind of vibe from the very first seconds when you listen to him, and that right kind of vibe goes straight into the night of your soul, and these kind of things are combined with dark, atmospheric, introspective vibes and with speedy escapades. And most importantly, he had a very personal manner of making an album come alive. So it was extremely personal touch in making a CD or a release come to life and remain alive for that matter. And he made an album come alive by means of some sort of psychedelic egomania on a power trip, to put it like this. Yep, he made an album come alive by means of a special type of psychedelic egomania on a power trip, and I'm referring of course to the song I Am the One, which is the bonus track on this particular edition. And I think that this is where the transgressive appeal of this music comes from, and also this is the place where which kind of makes it so that every song has its own identity. Every song has a strong enough identity without the collection of songs in here sounding scattered in any way. So the production here accentuates the album's sound, this meaning it is a heavily condensed and powerfully understandable production in all its intents and reverberations. So first of all, what should be mentioned in here is that everything is highly understandable, from the vocal lines to the lyrics and to the guitar effects and reverbs. It's a heavily condensed production and a powerfully understandable production in all its intents and in all its reverberations and throughout all its echoes and subtle hints whenever they join the game and come into play. And basically the entire album kind of exploits that missing link between between death metal and progressive post thrash metal. And this constitutes, I think, the band's unique appeal, and this makes the band go strong about their music and makes the sound be exactly what it is. And what the sound is in here is a rediscovery. on many passages while listening to this album is like rediscovering the guitar. Newer and visionary ways come into playing here. Newer and visionary ways in which this instrument, the guitar, can communicate with the drums and with the bass lines. And while listening to it, all of a sudden it is like a whole new parameter within guitar playing itself reveals itself to the listener. And this happens because the musicians had, in my opinion, no real intentions on following the old school canons, although it seems that they do so. It seems that they want to pay some sort of tribute to the old school masters of death metal, but in my opinion, while playing this music, they had no real intentions of following the old school canons. On the contrary, they decided to fully participate in the reformation process of the Romanian death metal scene. I mean, one single note, or every single note, is played in an insane and unexpected variety of ways. One single note playing in insanely many ways, in an insane variety, in an insane diversity of unexpected ways. And always when the same note is played in different ways, it always has the same effect. That is, it always creates a thunderous volcanic activity, in the form of noise reinforcement. So it's about reinforcing things. Each and every riff reinforces the bass lines, and the drums reinforce the riffs, and above all, the vocal lines reinforce the diabolical, speedy nature of the release. And nevertheless, Andrei Calmuc's vocal style beautifully adapts to the different modes in which the music develops, making the demonic grunts bring forth cognition, creativity, and dark brilliance. So we are talking about a vocalist whose voice easily adapts to different registers. The demonic grunts present themselves in a variety of ways, and all along these demonic grunts, what Andrei Calmuc did with his vocal lines was to bring forward cognition, creativity, and dark brilliance. That's why I said that, in my opinion, he's the best death metal vocalist and guitarist Romania ever had, and I'm afraid will ever have. And there is absolutely no dispassionate ugliness in here or in his vocal style. And many things can actually, if you do the vocals like this, many things can actually come out of the dark and flare off in a unique manner with clean, slow burners that gradually build more and more diverse arrangements. But it does all these things always in a thoroughly compelling manner. So extremely solid and compelling delivery of vocal lines, and also of guitar and bass and drum lines. So it is a vocal style that basically never ever gets off hand. It is a vocal style that can bring new dimensions to the tracks, or to each and every track. A vocal style that can make each and every cut more memorable than the other one. And at times this kind of a vocal style is even a little bit playful, and at times the guitars themselves become a little bit playful. So basically this music has everything it needs to have in order to keep the unfamiliar element alive, the shocking element alive. So if you are to draw some conclusions and to summarize a little bit what's going on this material, we could say that there is no stylistic frivolity in here, and that on a domain of our deceitful beliefs we can find some great transitions. This is one of the highest points of the release, the fact that there are great transitions to be found in here, and this is one of the best points of the release. And we can even find some tech grind sci-fi effects, yeah, some technical death metal, grind metal, science fiction effects applied to the music in here. And although the musicians use a lot of mutations, the songs are never ruined by these mutations, and the album also has some sort of a cinematic value. Cinematic value in the sense that the musicians shift the registers, they shift the message, they swing the mood of the songs, but this one happens just like in cinema when the camera, they pretty much do what the camera does in a movie. That is, when the camera changes the angles and allows some moments to happen too fast and allows some other moments to happen a little bit slower, but they always, just like that camera in the movie, they always capture loads of special moments. So everything here is a very special moment, and everything here depends on the way in which you as a listener react to the hit, so to speak, the way you as a listener can eat the hit. If I'm remembering correctly, it's a famous song from Accept, or even an album title, something like that. So if you can eat the hit in a stylish manner, you will 100% sure enjoy this release. Another extremely important aspect that is worth being mentioned is that these musicians, they even managed to preserve some sort of an openly mainstream appeal, and they preserve this kind of a mainstream appeal while keeping the confrontational moments fiendish, and while allowing the rhythmic section to behave like projectiles, like geysers, or like flamethrowers. And despite these brutal facts, they still manage to preserve some sort of a death metal mainstream appeal to their song. And the mainstream appeal because they propose to the audience an entertaining chord placement, yeah, a fabulous use of overtones and of overdrives, a fabulous use of overtones both on the vocals and on the other instruments, on the guitars, on the bass, on the drums. Everything is kind of based on overdrives and overtones, which, as I said, like in Mortal Kombat or like in Commando, allow for some brilliant mortal attacks on the flanks, yeah, while attacking a sonic segment. And apart from this, as I said, you can also find some truly great transitions, and all these kind of things turn CodeRed into a band who knows how to metalize their environment with powerful, catchy and optimistic flair and tunes. So also a little bit of a mainstream appeal and mainstream agenda in here, everything due to the fact that Andrei Calmuc was a brilliant mastermind of production and mixing and of guitar and vocal delivery, who chose the best possible company for his ideas in here, but also with Spectral and Tenebre in Indian Fall and other projects that he was a part of. So it's a very beautiful way to end the year 2023, a very special way if you want, and the way Sodom said in a song, every once in a while we kind of need to remember the fallen. Now, as far as I understood, the remaining members of the band said that they are trying to reform the band and continue without Andrei Calmuc and not allow themselves to be stopped by his death. But still, if Indian Fall was no longer the same after Andrei Calmuc left, I'm not saying that what they released after Andrei Calmuc left the band isn't extremely interesting music or isn't extremely poetical or special music, but Indian Fall without Andrei Calmuc is no longer the same thing. It's interesting, it's special, but it kind of lost that unique vibe and catchy, intimate feeling once with the departure of Andrei Calmuc from Indian Fall. Agato Diamond was no longer the same without Vlad Dracul or without Andrei Rusu. Whatever Andrei Rusu or Vlad Dracul played with Agato Diamond sounded divine. When Andrei Rusu left Agato Diamond was no longer the same thing. But who knows, perhaps Arman Niculescu and the other guys from CodeRed, perhaps CodeRed will be the same or even better in the future. Without Andrei Calmuc, we cannot know any of these things. Thank you so much for watching, and happy holidays to all of you. Thank you.